Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Wine, Women, and Words. And joining me tonight, as always, is Michelle.
Hello.
Crap, I just realized I forgot my wine. Oh, I have everything else, but no wine. Damn it, I failed tonight.
It's okay. I'm actually out of wine tonight, so we'll be women in words.
We're going to be sober during our podcast?
Very strange.
I know. Will we even be able to continue a discussion?
I think we could probably. Sorry, it's been a very long
See, this
day.
is what happens when you don't drink wine. You end up with Michelle yawning her head off while trying to do the podcast.
Sorry for all the noise. Rich is making as much noise as humanly possible to open a bag of candy.
Well, this is why we edit
all of that out.
Audio. Yes. Lots of work for me to do tonight editing. Thank you, Rich.
Yeah. He goes, "Have you started already?" I'm like, yeah, we started.
I just hope he enjoys the candy. Is it good candy?
I think he bought a bag of mini Snickers and a bag of Reese's Pieces.
Good choices. Good, very good choices. I approve of these choices. Your husband is making excellent life decisions.
Well, most days.
Yes, well, husbands. So tonight we're actually going to be discussing The Chef's Secret. Since we had Armando Lucas Correa on Tuesday, which was a really great episode. If you guys haven't listened to that, I recommend doing so. So tonight we're going to continue our discussion, and as I put in the show notes, we are discussing up to chapter 8. If you have not read up to chapter 8, I want you to take this opportunity to pause the show, read up to chapter 8, and then come back and listen, because we're going to be discussing some spoilers. So I'm going to take a couple minutes, just in case you didn't read the show notes, to let you go ahead and walk away before there are spoilers. And Michelle yawns while we do this. Gotta keep her engaged.
Sorry.
Okay, so now that we're back, all right, up to chapter 8. Now this has got twisty turniness all over it. I mean,
I know.
so much intrigue. Oh my goodness.
I think we started texting each other this afternoon, and we were pretty much almost on the exact same page while we were reading, which is interesting.
But it is really interesting that we were reading at the same time today in two different parts of the country, and it was so funny because I was on page 77 and I was really upset that I wasn't able to figure out the decipher, and I set it aside. I was like, I need to take a momentary break from this book. And then Michelle texts me going, holy plot, that was Batman page 80. And I was like, damn it, I haven't gotten to page 80 yet. So I had to pick the book back up and read up to page 80.
So, all right, for everyone, we have given you guys ample time to, well, actually, we don't even have to jump that far ahead. Let's start with, basically at the beginning of chapter 5 is kind of when we do our first time hop and we go back to Bartolomeo telling his story and when he first meets the woman. We don't know who she is yet, but we know her as Stella. And
can I just pause? Can we just pause and say how much I love that name?
I do. I love Stella. My cousin's daughter is named Stella, and every time I think of Streetcar Named Desire. Stella. But I
am just gonna get that every day because I was thinking that'd be a great name to name a kid.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, but they're gonna get the Streetcar Named Desire thing every day for the rest of their life. So I think I'm gonna name my next dog Stella.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the kids, they probably won't get it from the kids. They'll get it from the kids' parents.
Because the kids aren't going to know what Streetcar Named Desire is. And they're going to be like, why is your mom so weird? Why does your dad yell Stella every time I walk through the door? Your dad's weird.
And then you say, I know. And then pretend that your dad is so embarrassing, but he's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because I mean, you always do that when your dad's being embarrassing, but you know they're really cool.
Mm-hmm. True story.
It is, yes. So anyways, back to where we were. He starts telling his story, and he's talking about Stella.
And I kept saying, so we're meeting Stella for the first time, and we know we have a theory, Diana and I have a theory about who she is.
Hmm.
But all we know in the story is she's from a very wealthy family. Her father owns a bunch of banks. They're very, are they noble? Or we just know that they're friends with nobility, at least.
Yeah, and he calls her Principessa, which I mean, I suppose you can call a girl a princess when she's not a princess, but I don't think in that time you called somebody a princess when they weren't a princess.
Maybe.
Now
Well,
she is from Rome. They mentioned that. So, but there were some Medicis in Rome. We think that she's a Medici. I think she is. Because I mean, what other families were involved in banking at that time? There weren't. Banking was frowned upon at the time because it was considered a biblical sin to take out a loan and charge interest on it. And so banking up until the time of up until the time of the Medicis or around that time, it was that was something that was related to the Jewish families and Jewish people to do, because obviously they're not New Testament Christians, and it was really looked down upon by the Christian population at that time. And so until the Medicis came along, and then they kind of made it okay, made it cool, you know, almost like a form of cultural appropriation for the 16th century, I suppose.
we made it 10, guys.
Yeah, they totally made a trend. Um, but they still got some crap for it. But you don't really hear about any other banking families in Italy at that time. So I'm thinking she's Medici.
Were the Borgias into banking at all? Do we? No, no,
Mm-mm.
they were just into the papacy
Hmm.
and incest and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I
Um,
mean, yeah, they got their money from the church. So,
so we
and if
think
they
she's
did take out loans, by the way, if they did take out loans, they took them from the Medicis.
oh, okay. So we think she's a Medici. But so I'm reading the description, like Bartolomeo seeing Stella for the first time and how beautiful she is. And then he's trying to guess her age, and he thinks, he goes, well, she's probably 5 to 6 years younger than me, so that would put her at 15 at best. And at best is in the book. And this is where Diane and I launched into one of our discussions that we have
And I
because
had to put a pin in it because this is a discussion that we need to have on the show because it was such a good discussion.
I text Diana and I said, okay, I know at the time this was totally normal and it wasn't a big deal, but I was like, am I the only one who's slightly creeped out that this 21-year-old guy is like obsessing over hopefully at best a 15-year-old? So this got us started on, losing. You have to stop applying modern ideals and modern laws, I guess, and modern uh, socially acceptable norms. You have to suspend them when you're reading historical fiction because they probably won't apply to whatever time period you're reading about.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, when you look at this in that time frame, we have to take into whole consideration of it. A woman at that time, she had one purpose and one purpose only, and that was to breed. They had no other rights. They had no other agency. You were either a breeder or you went and became a nun, and you were the property of the church at that time. So when you have a woman in the family, her once she becomes old enough to breed, you go ahead and you marry her off to another family to get in more wealth for your family, to connect your family to somebody who is of a higher social status than you. And this was a way for families to be able to make money off of somebody who wouldn't be able to work. And you see this throughout history. And yes, I know I'm being very blunt and referring to women in historical context as being breeders, like you would a dog or a horse. But there is a term called chattel, and it's in sociology, and it's also in law. There are laws referring to chattel, and women are in the category of chattel in a number of laws, even in the United States, especially if you've been watching the news with what's happening this week in certain states that I shall not mention. Um, but you have this kind of situation that happened with women throughout history. It really isn't up until the last, 100 years that women actually had agency to be able to make decisions, where we started holding off on women getting married as soon as they got their periods. Um, and even education, what was it? Women didn't start going to actual colleges until the late 1800s. And even then, the idea of getting into a university beyond getting a husband was unheard of. Women weren't allowed to become doctors, they weren't allowed to become lawyers. It wasn't until the late 19th century that this actually started to happen. Um, so to look at a situation like this, and yeah, we should be weirded out and we should be creeped out, because it's not just that he's looking at her going, hey, you know what, this is a pretty girl. We also should be creeped out by the fact that her father is actually trying to marry her off. If Bartholomew, or was it, is it Bartholomew? Can
Well,
we call him Bartolomeo? Can I just call him Bart?
yeah, we can call him
For the purpose of this conversation, we're going to call him Bart. Um, if he wasn't into her, she's gonna get married off to somebody else. And there are other guys who already, as it was noted in the story, were having, we'll go with, impure thoughts to make it seem less awkward. Um, so this was stuff that happened, and yeah, we should be disturbed by it in modern times. But at the same time, we should look at this and recognize the fact that women didn't always have it the way we have it today.
Well, and then maybe a chapter later or two chapters later, maybe a chapter, then you do find out, that her father basically married her off in exchange for security. It wasn't necessarily, raising their social status, because they're already pretty well established if they are Medici's, but he marries her off to the Duke of the Archipelagos
Mm-hmm.
Islands,
Mm-hmm.
who is basically a glorified pirate, and he raids all the ships in a certain area. And so her father basically traded her for reassurances that his ships would not get raided by these pirates. So, I mean,
Women
the
were chess pieces in men's games. This is what marriage was in so many ways. The concept of marrying for love is a modern concept. And it's very much a Western concept as well.
well, I don't know if it's modern. I'm not a historian, so I don't know.
Modern. Okay, let's go back to what we were talking about before, where women didn't have a choice. It was based on what their father chose, what their parents
No, I know. I'm not saying that you could marry for love. I'm saying the idea of marrying for love, what isn't, I don't know if I would say it's modern. I'm sure people or women wanted to love the person that they were marrying, even if they weren't given a choice in the matter.
Well, when you look at like some of the books that come through, like that we've read, A Woman Is No Man. What else have we read? Um, the Daevabad series. Some of when they talk about these arranged marriages, yeah, sometimes there's love that comes with it, but when you look at the woman's experiences in these books, it's love came later. Love was the afterthought, because people arrange these marriages. And modern
No,
arranged marriages are, can be different. But back then it was a matter of duty, a matter of honor, a matter of how you can help your family.
no, I know. I'm not saying that that's different. I'm saying that the notion of love, of falling in love and finding someone who loves you, I don't think that's a modern concept. I'm sure women
I,
were hoping to fall in love and be able to marry the person that they love, because people have been falling in love forever. You just couldn't necessarily marry the person that you fell in love with. You would have to have affairs and risk everything
Mhm.
to, like, Stella and Bart. I mean, he's a 20-year-old chef's apprentice who looks a heck of a lot better than the 40-year-old pirate duke that she has to marry.
Now the
But
40-year-old pirate Duke might be a silver fox. Well, we don't know.
I don't know if the odds are leaning in his favor for that, but it's possible.
It's possible. It's
I
possible. I
mean,
mean, but even though he may be a silver fox when you're 15 years old, that silver fox is not necessarily all that attractive, even if he looks like Don Draper himself.
he could be a very sexy pirate in a Johnny Depp kind of way. We don't
Yeah,
know.
pre-creepy Johnny Depp, not current Johnny Depp. But, we're talking pre-creepy Johnny Depp. But
Like
yeah,
the
I mean
Pink
that's
Pirate
possible.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even let's look at like Anita for in my book. The concept of marrying for love. Her second marriage was for love. Her marriage to Garibaldi, she was very much in love with him, but there was a lot of stigma around it because the marriage that she was, first married into, she was 14 when she got married. When she was pushed into marriage by her own family, and a lot of it was just because in her journal she put, I don't think my family wanted to take care of me anymore. I was another mouth to feed, so they traded me off because they couldn't afford to keep me around. So I mean, it's finding someone to love was not necessarily the thing that always came with marriage, and that's why I think it's a modern concept that when we get married, find somebody to marry, it's all about the love, as opposed to it being a contract, being something where you actually build something together, and we focus too much on the love and not the actual like legality stuff. And I am so obviously romantic. My husband must be the most luckiest guy in the world, because this is the way I talk about romance. Hey, baby, talk contracts to me.
It is a contract that two people need to enter into knowingly and willingly.
Exactly. Tell me, baby, how are we going to grow our mutual funds together? Let's merge those bank accounts. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is where I think the personalities come through. We can tell who is the pragmatist and who is the romantic.
And that's the funny thing is I find myself to be such a hopeless romantic when it comes to stuff. In general, I mean, even though with all of that, I love romance books, but my idea of romance is weird.
Well, I mean, and I think that also comes with what books people read and if you're a writer, what genre you write, because you are mired in Anita's world. So you have, and the story that you're working on now.
Yeah.
So you have a very different, atmosphere.
And her and Garibaldi were so romantic. Um, so I mean, they did have their super romantic times, but it wasn't. And I kind of looked out with writing about Anita because Anita was she was very sarcastic, and she was a pragmatist, I think. And I think she was also one of these realistic people where she was a military vet. She fought in wars. So I didn't see her as being a hopeless romantic, especially having, if you're married off at the age of 14 and then
You a little bit.
huh?
I said, I'm sure that jades you a little bit.
Yeah. So I didn't see her as being this fall down, girly, romantic. Um, but yeah,
Now,
I
do
think
you
you're
think
right.
Stella is this fall down girly romantic, or do we think that she has a little, I mean, she's 15, so, but also to, I mean, to your point, 15-year-olds back then were a lot older than 15-year-olds now because they
Mhm,
knew, you know, like you were saying, they knew that their job was to get married, make babies, raise a family, run a household. So at 15, especially in high society, the way where she was, she would have been able to start running a household right away
mhm.
because that's
And
what she was trained to do.
and I think that she was a fall down romantic. I think Stella was because if you look at the way she's interacting with Bart.
Yeah. We'll
I
call him
was
Bart.
I gotta just call him Bart because I'm screwing his name up tonight. And I swear by the time we have Crystal on the show, I will have his name correct. Let's make a bet and see what happens with that.
I believe in you.
Yes, it's good to have goals. Uh, but yeah, I think in this way I think she's fall down romantic. Now, what you were saying before you went back into Stella, when you got into with me being a pragmatist about what I write, um, yeah, it makes sense that you're the hopeless romantic, and not always about finding love, but it's about finding love, and people need to find love for each other. And I really don't mean that to sound as cheesy as it comes out, but you are also very much our fantasy writer, and I would say romance a little bit, maybe. You,
Uh,
you read more of the romance than I do.
um, I mean, I don't think that there's rarely been a book that we've read or that I've read lately that doesn't have some kind of love interest in it.
I like the love interests in the books that I read. I like a love story to be in there, whether it's front and center, or if it's in the background.
I almost like the subtle love stories more, like to have it kind of, you know, like be in the background and then slowly come forward
Like
because
with Women 99.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, but also then you have like books like The Chef's Secret where obviously you know the story revolves around this love story, but there's so much more happening. You know,
Mhm.
there's the codes and then there's intrigues and oh, spoiler alert, Bartolomeo was actually Giovanni's father, not his uncle.
I kind of saw that coming, and I was thinking that this was something that was going to be revealed later.
I did too. I was like,
She,
oh, I kind of feel like, but she like threw that out there, like, let's get
yeah,
this out of the way.
yeah, like she'd been dropping breadcrumbs about that. Like I didn't know if Stella was necessarily the mother, but I had a feeling Bart was because you have these hints being dropped where um, he gave more to Giovanni than he did to Giovanni's brother. Giovanni's brother did not like him, was very jealous of him. And then mother knows that there's secrets. And then you also he after his death he wanted Giovanni to take on his last name, which you don't
That's
necessarily.
read that. I'm like, oh, weird, but okay.
Yeah, so because she's getting that out of the way now, I'm like, what do you have in store for Giovanni next? Because obviously, if somebody's going to critique that your book is too um too much intrigue, there's got to be something really good in here that I'm not seeing yet. And obviously, I couldn't crack the code. Um, it took me a little bit. I had to reread that section to figure it out. I was like, okay, I think I got this. I mean, I'm not a Da Vinci Code girl. That's your department. So, I mean,
Well, I mean, those are very different ciphers to figure out.
all
And
obviously, not every cipher could be the same because then they wouldn't be that hard.
I know, and I love, I want to research the professor that he went to for help that gave him that book. And he was just like, oh, here, I wrote a book about code breaking that will help you. Like,
Uh-huh.
was that real? Did they have a book about code breaking in the late 1500s?
They probably did.
They probably did.
It probably did because
Because, I mean, Leonardo da Vinci wrote in all kinds of codes.
mm-hmm. And don't
So,
forget that this is pre-Shakespeare, and the Elizabethans, they love themselves some codes as well and wordplay.
yes, as we saw in Jennifer's Bone.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about. So I mean, you've got this mystery that's just building and building and building. Um, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun reading it, and it's a fast read. I feel like
It
because
is a fast read. I think I stopped. I read maybe a couple pages into chapter 9, but I've figured out I've been reading like 4 chapters at a time, and I'm like, I think that's like a uh good stopping point for the discussion. Even though I plan to do 4 chapters and still finish before Crystal comes on, but it's a very fast read and it's very easy. And now that you're getting into kind of like the mystery of it and the love story is starting to unfold, it's moving faster now for me at least.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how this love story unfolds because a woman having a child out of wedlock and then giving him up in Stella's position is rare because then it's the possibility, okay, so she has a child out of wedlock. She has this bastard child. And a lot of times women would make it seem like it would be their current husbands, like the 40-year-olds. You hurry up and you sleep with your husband, and then, oh, hey,
Maybe that's time for me to come.
yeah, right? So, I mean, women did stuff like that to be able to hide their bastards because men could get away with having a bastard. It was almost cool for men to have a bastard. Um, but women, God forbid, were anything but chaste. I am really on a feminist soapbox tonight. This is what happens when I don't have my wine. Maybe I would have been worse. I don't know. We'll have to find out.
This is why we always have a guest on the show. Keeps Diana mellow.
I am not that bad tonight.
No, you're not. We have had very much more soapboxy conversations in the past.
We have, and I don't know. We might get a troll. It could be fun. I know. I haven't been able to do my feminist weather report in a very long time. By the way,
Well,
guys, it's very stormy right now. Get your umbrellas.
oh, I know we weren't actually talking about weather, but we were talking before about, so just to kind of like show what worlds we live in and how different they are. It is 65 degrees in California today, or it was. And Diana was talking about how cold it was and how it was sweater weather.
Yeah, I'm wearing a nice thick sweater and I'm nice and cozy. I did not want to get out of bed this morning. I was all curled up with the dogs. It was rainy. It was it was 68 when I got home from work today.
It was 65 degrees today. Tank top, t-shirts. Kids were in. Landon was in shorts and t-shirt. Lily was
Going over to the dark side, Michelle.
Oh, it was beautiful. I was like, let's get out of the house. Let's ride bikes. Let's do something today. Get out. I mean, I went with them. I didn't kick them out of the house and just say goodbye. But we were all out of the house all day. Lily rode her bike without training wheels for the first time today.
That is awesome. Yay for her.
So it has now been logged in posterity on the Wine, Women, and Words podcast.
Yay. It's now official history.
Now it's real. It's very exciting. She just got it like right away. Like Rich ran beside her for like 10 seconds and he's like, all right, I'm gonna wait here, you go. And she just went. She didn't fall once.
Good for her. It took me a long time before I had to get rid of my training wheels. Embarrassingly enough for me to say.
I want to say it probably took me a long time too, because I was a big wimp when I was a kid. So probably like maybe like 7 or 8. I'll have to ask my mom. But nope. Lily, she just walked up to Rich and said, I want my training wheels off. So he took them off and off she went.
Mm-hmm. I was one of those kids who liked to look around too much as I rode. So I looked around and then I'd fall.
She was doing that. She was like staring at me while she was going past me. I'm look straight ahead. Look where you're going. There are parked cars everywhere.
I had so many scraped knees and elbows as a kid.
Oh yeah, she does too. I did not because I read all the time when I was a kid. You can't get bruises from books. You can get paper cuts.
You can't get paper cuts. You know you can get bruises from books. It's just a matter of how fast somebody throws it at you.
So on that note, you guys, we will wrap up our little mini episode, which I think was actually like a really good conversation.
I think it was too.
So we'll be back next week. We'll be back to our regular full hour episodes. No,
regular full hour, but not our regular night. I'm gonna be too busy hanging out with Armando, so I'm ditching you guys for a couple days, and we're gonna be on Friday. The 20, I've got on my calendar, 24th, Friday the 24th. We will have an episode. We have the author of Wasted. I forget her name specifically because I do not have it in front of me. She will be, I've got my phone. I will look it up real fast. And while we wait, because I can magically edit this part out.
Never.
I love the magic of editing. Everything sounds so much better after I've edited it, hopefully.
Unless people are watching live right now.
The fun of live shows. Okay. And it came up for like a second and then it was gone. God damn it.
Hi, fish. He like sits here and does like a little half purr at you. He goes,
okay, Randy Susan Myers. So next week we're going to be on May 24th with author Randy Susan Myers to talk about her book Wasted.
Sounds good.
And then the week after that, we are going to finish up our discussion of The Chef's Secret because we will have Crystal King on and we will discuss her thoughts on cat butt.
Not her thoughts on cat butt. There was a fish suddenly walked past and his furry little cat butt was on screen.
Oh yeah, he flashed it for the whole world to see. Your cat has no shame.
No, he doesn't. He also thinks he's a dog. Anyway, so we'll get Crystal's thoughts on the book.
On the book,
I was gonna say.
Not on Michelle's cat's butt, but on the book.
So thanks for watching or listening. We're gonna go now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.